morning, everyone. My name is Margherita PAZZINI, and I'm a PhD student from the University of Bologna at the DCAM department. Today, I'm going to show you innovative methodologies to evaluate different project scenarios on cycle-pedestrian networks. The study area is located within the Canal Port of Rimini, a city on the east coast of the Emilia-Romagna region. The area is not very connected to the city center, so it appears to be a degraded area. The aim is to find sustainable infrastructure solutions to encourage integration between Canal Port and the city center. The study was divided into three phases. In the first phase, on-site inspections were carried out to find out the state of art. In the second phase, the main criticalities were listed, finding possible design solutions for each of these criticalities. Finally, in the third phase, two scenarios will be reproduced through virtual reality, the current state of the Rimini Canal Port and the future scenarios to be able to compare them. In the first phase of the study, several on-site inspections were conducted to find out about the current state of the area. As can be seen in this slide, the major problem is near the docks for the transit of cyclists and pedestrians, because during floods, water covered the docks, making it impossible for passengers to transit. Then it was analyzed the institutional and environmental framework, the urban, territorial and landscape system, the relationship between the canal port and the city center, the existing function and services, for example, the ICT services, and the social, economic and cultural context of the Rimini Canal Port. In order to involve the main stakeholders and citizens who orbit the canal port, an online survey with multiple choice was conducted to find out their opinion in terms of services and functions, availability of spaces, cycle and pedestrian paths, and connection with the city center. In this slide, you can see the difference between phase 1 and phase 2. In the phase 1, this phase involved the collection of data and useful information to be able to develop a project proposal that took into account not only the technical aspect, but also the needs of those who use the services in this area. All this information was useful for the second phase. At this stage, from the data collected, it was possible to develop a SWOT analysis to identify the main criticalities and potential of the area. The combination of these aspects made it possible to establish design indicators through which it was possible to develop various project proposals. But the SWOT analysis does not define the priority of the intervention, so for these reasons, we use the BOCR analysis that identify the priority of interventions. In the first step of the second phase, following the SWOT analysis scheme, the main strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats were identified. The identification of criticalities was possible thanks to the phase 1. The analysis was divided into three parts. Initially, thanks to the collaboration of Municipality of Rimini and the public transport company Stat Romagna, it was possible to consult open data and urban planning tools. The second phase involved on-site inspection to identify the problems, and finally, in the third and last phase, the stakeholders were involved through a questionnaire. So in this slides, you can see the 8 main criticalities. First of all, the promiscuity between areas dedicated to fishermen's activities and areas for citizens and tourists. The presence of a ferry service to connect the two docks of the canal port that has a very low capacity. The interruption of the seafront path currently under construction for the construction of Parco del Mare, and also the lack of public parking spaces around the Rimini Canal Port. Then other critical issues are the discontinuity of cycle paths at the service areas along the Via Destra del Porto, the poor safety of docks and the irregularity of the moorings, The presence of several architectural barriers that hinder access to the docks and complete inaccessibility during floods, and then the bottleneck present in the last part of the Rimini Canal Port near Ponte di Tiberio that does not allow the construction of a cycle path. After the identification of critical issues, a set of descriptive indicators was established to measure the level of accessibility between the infrastructural city network and the harbour structure. The study area was divided into two parts. The yellow area represents the intervention area in which the project proposal will be made. Instead, the red area represents the area that influenced the intervention area in terms of accessibility. These indicators are necessary in order to support the design choices for the redevelopment of the area and as a support for the monitoring phase of the proposed interventions. The choice of the indicator to be used for the analysis involved the first phase of literal research. Then, in the second step, the selected indicators were also analyzed through the GIS platform. And finally, in the third step, for each indicator were created tabs divided into 5 categories: environmental, economic, infrastructural, urban, and social aspects. Thanks to this first part of the second phase, it was possible to find design solutions for each of the identified criticalities. First of all, the improvement of the quality of public urban spaces around the Rimini Canal Port, the functional public spaces for loading docks and at the same time attractive for tourists, the implementation of the ferry service in collaboration with Startermagna, and the creation of a parking buildings located in a strategic position to facilitate intermodality. Other solutions are the patch of cycle-pedestrian routes and the interconnection of social cultural attraction poles, the raising of the docks and the legalization of moorings, the requalification of the docks with the consequent improvement of the quality and safety of public spaces, and then the cycle path connection near the Tiberius Bridge. The SWOT analysis allows the identification of possible design solutions, but does not allow to know the priority of these interventions. So for this reason, the BOCR analysis was used. The BOCR is a tool used to obtain a priority scale of the interventions to be carried out. Starting from the identified indicators, these were classified into nodes depending on whether they were opportunities or costs for the study areas. Then the opportunities and risks were assessed through the SWOT analysis done previously. Using the super decision software, the benefits, opportunities, costs, and risks, and the 8 project solutions identified were included in the program, in the software, considering the project 0 as the current situation without any improvement measures. In the slide, you can see the priority scale of the intervention obtained from the analysis. The most necessary intervention for the redevelopment of the areas are the improvement of cycle-pedestrian path and the redevelopment and raising of docks. This does not mean that the other solutions are not important, but identify only the priority of interventions. In the last phase of the study, the current scenarios and the future one will be compared through the virtual reality. This last phase is divided into 3 phases. First of all, we recreated the Rimini Canal Port through the use of AutoCAD and InfraWorks. In Twinmotion software, we represent the virtual reality of Rimini Canal Port, and then with the use of VR glasses, we can see the virtual reality of the 2 scenarios. So through virtual reality, it will be possible to compare the 2 scenarios. On the one side, the current state of the Rimini Canal Port, and on the other side, the future state of the cycle and pedestrian infrastructure following the improvement of cycle path and the raising of docks. In the future will be done a survey with the 2 3D scenarios in order to evaluate the user perception of the road. In this video, you can see the creation of the current state of the Rimini Canal Port through the use of Twinmotion software. There are still some details to be completed, but the goal in this case is to recreate an environment in which users can recognize the differences between the before and after intervention infrastructures. Thank you for your attention.